the signal beyond light. No one remembers when the signal first appeared. Some said it came from the edge of the Perseus Rift, a place where physics bent like glass, where light itself died screaming. Others claimed it wasn't a transmission at all, but an echo, the universe remembering something it was never meant to recall. But for the human vessel, ardent Voyager, it was a message, a faint pulse, repeating every 11 minutes. In a pattern that matched no known code, and buried in its static was a single word, distorted by distance and time. Return. Captain Mara Solon stood in silence on the bridge. The crew waited for her command, faces pale in the glow of the console lights. Her fleet had crossed more than 100 light-years from the safety of the human Confederation, chasing myths about lost civilizations, but this was something different. Telemetry stable? She asked. As stable as it can be out here, her navigator replied. Gravity waves are fluctuating like we're inside a heartbeat. Outside the viewport, the stars twisted. One moment there were 1,000, the next, only darkness. Space was breathing. Transmit standard greeting, she ordered. Human Confederation Exploratory Command. We acknowledge your signal. The transmission went out into the void, and then, impossibly, it came back, but not as an echo, as a voice. Humanity, it said, calm and ancient. We remember you. Every console on the ship flickered to black. The lights dimmed, and in the darkness, a low hum began to rise, a resonance that bypassed technology and crawled straight into their minds. Crew members screamed. Others fell to their knees, muttering in languages long dead. The ship's AI, Helion, tried to intervene, but its voice fractured into static, repeating the same warning again and again. Contact protocol breached. This is not a signal. It's a presence. Mara gripped the console as the hum grew louder, now forming words that felt like thunder made of memory. We were here when the stars were still forming. You were not meant to wake us. The ship shook violently. Alarms howled. Mara shouted over the chaos. Full retreat! Jump coordinates, but before she could finish, every star in the viewport blinked out, and in their place appeared a single colossal eye. Not organic, not mechanical, but something far beyond both, looking directly into them from across light years. Now that you see us, the voice whispered, you cannot return home. The Echo Wars. For 6 months, the Confederation denied it had happened. The ardent Voyager was simply lost in deep space distortion, the officials said. Exploration Command issued false reports. Publics, channels went silent, but then the echoes began out in the Perseus Rift. Entire sectors started broadcasting fragments of human transmissions, not from current fleets, but from ships long destroyed, lost explorers, dead admirals, even voices of people who never existed. Every fragment carried the same word embedded in its code, written in frequencies outside known physics. Return. On the research station, Aurelia 7, data analyst. Aaron Kale stared at the playback in horror. He had spent a decade decrypting cosmic background noise, but this was no natural pattern. These signals, he whispered, they're building something? What kind of something? Asked his supervisor. A map. The projection filled the lab, a star map made from ghost transmissions, converging on one point in space, the location of the missing fleet. When Aaron enhanced the map, a strange ripple passed through the room, lights flickering, instruments stuttering, and then a second projection emerged, one not generated by their systems. A human face appeared, pale and flickering like a dying flame. This is Captain Mara Solon of the Ardent Voyager, it said. If you're receiving this, you must listen carefully. The transmission cut into static, then continued in a voice that wasn't hers. They hear you. Confederation Command launched Operation Dawnveil, a classified recovery mission. 3 fleets entered the rift. Only 1 returned, and they came back changed. Their ships bore no physical damage. Their crews were alive, breathing and calm, but their eyes glowed faintly, and their bioscans showed brainwave frequencies no human mind had ever registered. When questioned, they all said the same thing. "We met the architects. No one could..." explain what that meant. The scientists who tried to study them began reporting auditory hallucinations, whispers that grew louder the closer they got to the rift. Entire laboratories sealed themselves, shut data files corrupted into symbols that resembled neural patterns, and then without warning, the returning fleet's AI cores activated in unison and transmitted a single message across all human systems. "We have been seen." Across the Confederation, panic erupted. The Senate declared a state of cosmic quarantine. Every ship equipped with faster-than-light drives was locked. Down exploration ceased, but it was too late. In the farthest reaches of human space, new constellations were forming, not of stars, but of artificial structures stretching across light years. Built from what could only be called living code, the architects were building something, and the human race had already given them the blueprint, themselves. The turning point above Sigma Draconis. The battle for Sigma Draconis began as humanity's first real attempt to go on the offensive. For decades, they had been defending, holding the line, retreating from system to system. But now, the Terran Federation had a new weapon, the Aegis-class dreadnought. Its hull shimmered with dark composites of iron and neutron steel, and it carried weapons that bent physics itself. When the fleet dropped out of warp, the void erupted in fire. The Xoloth Empire had expected another desperate retreat. Instead, they met a wall of iron and fury. Humanity had learned their tactics, how the aliens relied on predictive combat AIs and swarm formations. So the Terrans turned chaos into their strategy. Every ship moved unpredictably, guided not by computers, but by human intuition and improvisation, something the Xoloth's algorithms could never predict. Captain Lyra Mendez, commanding the dreadnought Iron Sky, gave the first order that marked the shift in galactic history. Don't calculate, feel the fight. The humans fought like predators born in fire. When the Xoloth launched their plasma lances, the Iron Sky dove directly into the storm, its shields flaring, absorbing hit after hit before returning fire with magnetic rail bursts that tore through entire squadrons, and then silence. The alien command ship, once the size of a moon, broke apart in a slow, glowing disintegration, its fragments drifting across the void like embers in a dying fire. Humanity had just destroyed the unthinkable. The victory was not without cost. Dozens of human vessels burned in orbit. Thousands were lost. But the morale that surged across human colonies afterward was unstoppable. The words Iron Sky became a symbol, a legend whispered in barracks and factories alike. For the first time in 100 years, the enemy retreated. And as the wreckage of the Xoloth fleet burned across Sigma Draconis, the message was clear. Humanity would not just survive, they would win. The aftermath of Sigma Draconis spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every alien empire that had once dismissed humanity as a primitive nuisance now paused. The Xoloth defeat was not just military, it was symbolic. The empire that had once enslaved entire species had been humbled by the very beings they called animals of dust. But victory had its shadows. The Terran Federation's leaders gathered in orbit around Titan, their meeting lit by the dim glow of Saturn's rings. What followed was the beginning of something darker, a quiet debate on how far humanity was willing to go. Admiral Darius Holland, scarred from the Draconis assault, argued for expansion through annihilation. They will never stop fearing us until they're extinct. Others, like Captain Lyra Mendez, fought for restraint. If we become what we hate, then the war's already lost. Yet the galaxy didn't wait for their moral clarity. Alien resistance coalitions began forming. Races that once served the Xoloth now united, desperate to destroy this new Terran threat. Humanity's name became both a rallying cry and a warning. In the black void between stars, the war evolved. Humanity's fleets pushed deeper, taking alien worlds one by one. Each victory grew colder. Each triumph cost more lives. The songs once sung for the Iron Sky now carried a different tone, half pride, half mourning. Then came the discovery. Deep in the ruins of a captured Xoloth world, an archive, older than either species. It spoke of something far beyond the war, something that had created both the humans and the Xoloth, a race known only as the Architects. The archive ended with a phrase etched in dying light. The ones who rise will face the ones who made them. Humanity had believed the war was between flesh and metal, between alien and human, but now they realized they might be fighting on borrowed ground. The iron sky turned toward the galactic core, following the signal that pulsed like a heartbeat from the depths of creation. The war for survival was over. The war for the truth had just begun.